Food is meant to nourish us and enable us to embrace and enjoy life. However, how much is enough? When desire becomes the root of transgression, we must exercise control over our mouths, tongues, eyes, and even our stomachs. But what happens when someone cannot restrain their own mouth? This is the story of Tarrare, a mortal sinner of insatiable appetite. Tarrare was born in 1772 to a poor family in the outskirts of Lyon, France. During his childhood, Tarrare grew up like any other child. However, when he reached the age of 17, the tale of Tarrare began to unfold. He became a name known to all in the region, and anyone who heard his name immediately recognized him as the glutton. Tarrare could consume an astounding amount of food, devouring dozens of pounds of beef every day. His insatiable hunger plagued him at all times and in any place. With his monstrous and extraordinary appetite, his family could no longer meet his demands. Eventually, there came a day when there was nothing left to fill his ever-expanding belly. Tarrare was then cast out of his home, as no one could bear the burden of feeding him any longer. From that moment, tales of a bottomless pit of a stomach began to spread widely. Wandering throughout France, Tarrare endured a life of perpetual hunger. He resorted to scavenging through heaps of rubbish in search of scraps to sustain him on his nomadic journey. However, no amount of leftover food could satiate his voracious appetite. In his destitution, Tarrare formed alliances with the dregs of society, such as thieves, rapists, and prostitutes, all in an effort to feed his insatiable belly. After some time, Tarrare and his companions established a traveling circus, showcasing their peculiar talents across France. Of course, this was no ordinary circus. During their performances, the thieves would pickpocket the mesmerized audience, with Tarrare serving as the distraction. Tarrare captivated anyone who laid eyes on him, as he could devour objects that defied human capabilities. It seemed his gluttonous nature had granted him a jaw capable of accommodating an entire basket of apples, a feat unattainable by an ordinary person. Not only did he astound with his gargantuan throat capable of swallowing rocks, but he also demonstrated an astonishing ability to consume live animals. These spectacles stole the attention of the audience, allowing his accomplices to carry out their illicit activities undetected. Meanwhile, thanks to Tarrare's uncanny abilities, the circus troupe gained notoriety and received invitations to perform across France. However, despite their extensive touring, the circus troupe remained impoverished, as any earnings they collected were promptly devoured by Tarrare, quite literally. Inevitably, the circus troupe could no longer withstand Tarrare's insatiable appetite. Once again, the unfortunate young man was cast aside. He then made his way to Paris to continue his performances, but this time, he stood alone, abandoned by his former companions. In Paris, Tarrare continued to utilize his unique talent to earn a living. However, instead of charging the audience for each spectacle of swallowing peculiar objects, he simply accepted food as payment. Nevertheless, his performances didn't make a significant impression in this new city, so Tarrare was forced to resort to begging for a living. Yet, with his extraordinary appetite, it seemed that even this profession wasn't quite suitable for him. Therefore, Tarrare came up with an idea to combine both of his previous occupations. Specifically, for those who were not generous enough to give him money, he would assume the role of a robber and take their belongings, using the stolen funds to satiate his hunger. Although he resorted to theft, he never enjoyed a truly satisfying meal. To quell his insatiable hunger, he scavenged through garbage and even devoured sewer rats, enduring the ordeal to alleviate his hunger pangs. One day, while rummaging for food in a trash bin near a hospital, Tarrare was recognized by a doctor who had previously attended one of his shows, and was fascinated by the extraordinary capabilities of his bottomless stomach. This doctor's name was Baron Percy. Baron Percy immediately invited Tarrare to his home to enjoy a sumptuous meal in exchange for the opportunity to study the endless stomach of this extraordinary glutton. Being famished as he was, Tarrare couldn't possibly refuse such a generous offer. After having a satisfying meal at the doctor's house, Tarrare accepted the deal and allowed Percy to conduct studies on his body. From this point on, Percy recorded numerous intriguing details about this extraordinary eating prodigy. Tarrare's skin, having adapted to his extraordinary eating ability, can now stretch in an abnormal manner. When he is hungry, The flesh on his face flows outward like the ears of an elephant, and the same occurs with the flesh in his stomach. Furthermore, after defecation, almost everything that was recently consumed will pass through him entirely. Additionally, due to his excessively large physique, his body emits extremely unpleasant odors. This may be a result of the substances he ingests, or perhaps due to his tendency to sweat excessively and more than an average person. Coincidentally, during the time when the doctor discovered Tarrare, France was at war. Thus, after Percy finished his studies on Tarrare, he contacted General Alexandre de Beauharnais to explore the possibility of utilizing Tarrare's extraordinary abilities. What use could a glutton like Tarrare possibly have for the military? Tarrare, following an introduction by General Alexandre, joined the French and Prussian forces in battle. However, his repulsive body odor and insatiable eating habits made him despised among his own ranks. Slowly but surely, he became isolated within the military. Despite this, he was not dismissed from service, primarily due to his extraordinary eating abilities. After a period of enlistment, General Alexandre called Tarrare into his office for an experiment. He presented the hungry fellow with a wooden box filled with stacks of documents and instructed him to devour it all. Once Tarrare had consumed the entire pile of papers, he would have to wait until he could excrete them through the back door. The purpose of this experiment was for the general to harness Tarrare's abilities to transport classified information for the French army to the battlefield. Upon cleaning up his waste and retrieving the box, they discovered that the preserved documents remained intact and readable. From that point on, Tarrare officially became a spy specialized in transporting confidential information for the French military. In his first mission, Tarrare disguised himself as a Prussian peasant and infiltrated the enemy's front lines to deliver a letter to a captured brigadier. The method of transportation remained the same as the previous experiment. However, there was an unforeseen issue that the French general had not anticipated: Tarrare's body odor. While carrying out the mission, Tarrare perspired excessively, emitting a strong bodily odor that even the distant Prussian soldiers could detect. They captured him, interrogating him to determine why Tarrare was present. However, because he did not understand the German language and was in the territory of the Prussians, Tarrare was immediately assumed to be a French soldier and promptly apprehended. The unfortunate lad was hung up and subjected to brutal torture for an entire day. Finally, at his breaking point, he revealed the letter hidden within his stomach. Realizing the situation, the Prussians bound Tarrare to an outhouse and awaited his resolution. After several agonizing hours, the box finally emerged. The letter was quickly discovered, but its contents astonished everyone. It read, "Let me know if Tarrare succeeded in delivering this." This was an elaborate test, and Tarrare was the unwitting pawn. General Alexandre had never fully trusted Tarrare and intended to use him as a mere instrument in this mentally challenging battle. Outraged by being deceived, the Prussian general ordered the continued torture of Tarrare. After enduring enough torment, they eventually released Tarrare since it became evident that he had no discernible value and simply emitted an unbearable stench. However, this was not the end of Tarrare's harrowing journey. Upon returning to France, he pleaded with the military authorities never to assign him to deliver secret letters again. Consumed by fear and haunted by his experiences, Tarrare sought out Dr. Percy and implored him to transform him into a normal human being. However, this task proved to be far from simple. Dr. Percy attempted every method, from weight reduction to limiting his food intake and administering what he believed to be the best medications available at the time, even resorting to illicit substances. Yet, nothing yielded results. Tarrare's insatiable hunger could not be subdued, and so, Tarrare remained consumed by his relentless appetite. In a desperate struggle with hunger, he even drank the blood of other patients. Not only that, Tarrare was once expelled from the morgue for intending to eat corpses. Many doctors demanded that this madman be sent to a psychiatric facility, but Dr. Percy steadfastly defended the patient. It was only when a 14-month-old baby mysteriously disappeared that suspicion arose and Tarrare was expelled from the hospital. After this incident, Tarrare isolated himself from society, considering himself a freak. After a period of disappearance, he suddenly reappeared at a hospital in Versailles after 4 years of no news. The doctors concluded that the patient was suffering from tuberculosis accompanied by severe diarrhea. Despite their efforts to save him, Tarrare passed away in 1798 at the young age of 26. During the autopsy, the doctors made peculiar discoveries. His body was filled with pus, and Tarrare's throat was abnormally large. Furthermore, when they opened his jaw and looked down, they could see directly into his stomach. His organs, such as the liver, gallbladder, and stomach, were also larger than normal. However, his intestines were in a state of putrefaction, and worst of all, his stomach was ulcerated in many places. Percy and his team had to abandon the post-mortem examination due to the unbearable smell emanating from Tarrare, bringing an end to the grotesque journey of the gluttonous man. According to Grunge, modern scientists and historians do not view Tarrare as a monster. He was simply a sick individual. They hypothesize that he had to consume such a large quantity of food because he suffered from pica, a rare eating disorder where individuals consume non-food items. Tarrare was a wretched character enslaved by his own mouth. He had no choice but to strive for survival until his illness took his life. If he could have made a wish, surely he would have wished not to suffer from this rare condition. However, in the real world, there are countless individuals who desire to have this disorder, those who commit the sin of gluttony. Indulging in food, wasting, eating to excess, and eating without cessation for the pleasure derived from the mouth, where everything consumed falls into decadence, is a great sin. Eating without knowing what is being eaten, how it tastes, eating for the sake of eating, is also a great sin. Although Tarrare was a victim, what happened to him also occurs to those outside, those who are preparing to jump into the abyss of gluttonous sins. There are those who have insatiable hunger that never ceases. They attend feasts and grab everything for themselves. Will they consume everything? Not necessarily, but they must take it all. Then they live and die, fighting and beating each other over meager scraps of food. Ultimately, despite having the choice to be civilized, they choose the path of the gluttonous. Later, due to poverty, they turn to the path of theft and other dark crimes. They claim they have no choice, that they are victims of society and have no way out. But only they know the truth. As for the truly righteous, they will always feel remorse for their wrongdoing. In the end, gluttony is a great sin due to the lack of civility, self-control, and mindfulness in choices. Those who allow their hunger and cravings to dominate them are guilty of the sin of gluttony. Perhaps Tarrare was not the perpetrator of great sins, but he served as a mirror and a lesson for those on the outside, who are ready to plunge into the bottomless pit of the stomach. Clean your plate, mend your clothes. But when lost in the whirlpool of modern society, these old teachings fade away, and many intentionally forget them to satisfy their own interests.